Hello, I'm Roger Bisbee from the Skill Builder channel. I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Richard Pugh from Newport in South Wales. You contacted me, sent me some photographs. We had a little bit of correspondence about your bathroom project. This is just too good not to use because it's even more interesting when they see somebody who's not a plumber. We had Kirk Johnston doing his bathroom. He's a plasterer. And now we've got an electrician doing a bathroom. And I think people are going to be surprised and impressed by what we're going to show. You got a Barrett home here. Yeah?
Yeah, so we bought, the house was brand new 2011. I think Barrett were trying a couple of different construction techniques through the estate because I've worked in a couple of properties later on in the project. Some of them are timber framed. Ours was steel framed, C-section steel joists, a single skin of steel frame making the internal skin of the building, if you like, and then a single skin of brick.
What's it like living in it generally? Does it rattle? Does it creak?
I think if it was put together with due care and attention, it would be fine. I think in that photo, the chipboard was bonded to the top of the steel joist just on a bed of expanding foam, rather than being sort of tech screwed down or piloted and drilled and self-drill fixing used to sort of bond the chipboard. So there was a little bit of bounce in the chipboard. You get that squeak when you walk through the bathroom prior.
They managed to miss those cables when they were fixing the ceiling. Those cables were their cables, weren't they?
Yes, that one cable that you can see snaking under the isolator, that is the original 10mm electric shower feed.
They took a few chances there, didn't they?
Sailed close to the wind with a couple of those.
We're looking at the plumbing. So they did the whole thing in polypipe and you decided you weren't going to leave those valves.
Those valves are my valves. They'd basically done the whole hot and cold heating and flow and return and so on, and the domestic hot water. That was all in polypipe. There was no accessible isolation, if you like. I've got nothing against polypipe if it's done nicely, particularly, but I thought being as it's going to be closed up and boxed in and there forever potentially, I just rest a little bit easier if it was all in copper and soldered. I think I've completed YouTube on wet room formers and how they go into a timber framed building. Followed the tutorials that you did, what led me to email and just say thanks for the content that you put out. But normally you'd be laminating a timber onto both sides of your joist to pick up a plywood support. Certainly on one side of the C-section joist, I wouldn't have had anything to sort of support.
So you needed a structural former, really, didn't you? That was why you went for that one rather than the abacus one. So what was that, an impy one or what?
I've still gone with like an abacus style polystyrene, 30mm polystyrene, but I needed something to be able to pick up the ply that I wanted to create that level access. A local steel fabricator that, as a coincidence, I work with, and I sort of explained the conundrum I had and sort of gave him a little mock-up of a diagram saying that this is the sort of thing that I need. And he said, I can make those for you. 2mm thick stainless steel sheets, all the structural rigidity that I wanted, bolt those through to the top of the joists. And I gave me 2 little ledges either side of the joist to rest my 18mm ply in then.
So what have you got here? Elements board on the wall?
Yeah, 12mm cement-faced elements board. I had the Fix MD as part of the kit, but I sort of kept that to one side because I wanted that for the tray area and use like a CT1 or a BT1. If any water gets through this bathroom, it deserves to, because there's about 15 layers of waterproofing.
You got an eye box so you can put a number of different valves can go in there. Here's your plan. You've got loads of little drawings all over the place, haven't you? Which
it's one of the things I think it helps me keep a clear head really and focus on what happen next.
Yeah. This alarmed me. I've got to say, when I saw this, I thought, oh no, there's water running uphill.
All I was doing there, I think, was just plotting it for the linear distance.
So here you are. Here's your boss at the bottom, isn't it? You're going to go into.
The boss at the top there is just the one I've used as a practice.
Yeah, just the dummy. Here's your ply dropped in to your bespoke bits of stainless steel. That's your former, that's your tray. Everything is in place and you've just got to drop that down. Just that as a matter of interest, did you actually torque those screws up or did you just guess it?
I have got a torque screwdriver. Yeah. You can do more damage by tightening something too much.
You can pull those little brass bits out of a polypropylene and you've had it then, haven't you, really?
Yeah,
this is a good point. Dry fit, mark it all up, relative positions, and then when you get that solvent weld out, you've got no problem just lining everything up.
Yeah, you just haven't got to second guess where you're aligning.
No. And now you're going for what we would call strap-on boss. I use them. Do you know the one I like now is the McAlpine one? Because it's got a big rubber bung on it and it kind of doesn't rely on that solvent weld. So you're just flushing the pipe through there.
Yeah, drained off the residual flux from the cold feed or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people don't bother, but it's well worth doing, isn't it?
You think, there's not much flux in that pipe, and then when you see how cloudy the water is when you drain it, The only other place it's going is straight into the brand new £800 Hansgrohe showers.
When you want to call on the warranty, they say, "Oh no, you can't have it. You didn't flush it through."
Part of the reason I sort of take so many photos, it's like, well, if there is ever
I advise everybody, take photographs, take photographs. If you're having some building work done every evening when the builders go home, or plumbers or whoever it is, just take photographs, because at some time in the future, if you want to put a screw through something, you know where all the pipes are, you know where everything is. So here you are, you got the Mapai cement down on top of that ply, and then you're going to lower the tray into place.
the point of no return, I call that.
Once that's stuck, the only way you'll get that up is destroy the tray, isn't it? The falls are built into that tray, so you get the spirit level along the side and across the ends. If they're level, then everything else is good. This is the underfloor heating going, and you've put underfloor heating, tile warm up, basically electric underfloor heating under the tray as well, so that it gets nice and dry. Well worth doing that. It just makes sure that you don't get any mold. Now, this was interesting. I looked at this. I thought, oh, what's it up to there?
So all I've done here is I've used two slim offcuts of the elements board, and they mirror the edge of the former, the tray former. And then I just used a small amount of expanding foam there just to seat those. And it just means that when I self-level the rest of the floor to encapsulate the tile, the warm-up mat in, I'm not going to lose underfloor self-leveling compound into the tray and lose my falls on the...
You've got self-leveler all on the outside, so then you pull up those offcuts, from the foam.
Like a little 2mm edge to make up.
I love it when you leave the spirit leveling shot.
I keep mine in the freezer. Never wrong.
Now, I like these tables. This is a multifunction table, yeah?
It's called a Bora centipede, and it's the frame is 2 foot by 4 foot, and then you can put them side by side and buy as many multiple tops as you want to create the slab that you need. So one frame, one top.
Massive tiles, aren't they?
So they're 1200, 600 porcelain, 10mm thick, 18 kilos each.
Whoa. Okay. This is fantastic, isn't it?
It was superb. This is called a Ruby Slim system with the manual cutter that you can see on the rail there. You get two 1.2 meter long rails and a 1 meter long rail, so you can cut 3.5 meters in one piece if you want to put all the rails together. They got little pins that are pre-manufactured onto the end of the rails, and they sort of locate in a male and female sort of way. 2 little spacers that you can see now on the same side of the rail as the manual cutter. They show you, they indicate your cut line. So once you've marked the tile with your pencil, you set the rail to the sliders, and then they come off the rail, and your manual cutter will follow that pencil mark perfectly then. So I was surprised. I didn't know how effective that rail system was going to be with the sucker cups, because the tiles have got like a slightly pitted, porous... But they were on as soon as you sort of did the levers on the top.
And they're not even the pump-up ones, are they? They're just levers.
No. Literally just sort of cam action sucker cups, and there was no moving those once the located. So that is the manual setup, but there's an electric tile saw, and that runs on the same rail.
This is so versatile, isn't it? This is
I think just having done the whole project now, I think the only slight downside of this system is if the tile isn't big enough to land the 2 sucker cups on the piece that you're keeping or the piece that you're cutting off, you haven't got anywhere to hold the rail still.
Can you not clamp the rail? Does it not got...
So the rail, you can use like the Festool clamps, if you like, underneath. So I bought a pair of those later on, so that you can clamp underneath the rail in sort of one of the track or one of the grooves.
I know, yeah. It's just like score and snap. It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's so clean, so you can see the score mark. When you're sort of coming onto the tile, if you like, you'd go backwards, get a clean sort of score mark to the back edge of the tile. Then you'd push forward, and then I was doing it. You see the professionals in Italy or whatever, and they just go along the tile once. But I was going maybe across the tile 2 or 3 times. By the time I sort of perfected the technique, I think I lost 1 tile, and that wasn't through the cutter. That was through a hole saw. Yeah, that's the separator then. So once you've scored the tile, take the rail away, and then that would just bridge your cut mark, and again a little bit of hand pressure, and you hear a crack at both ends. They say depending on the thickness of the tile and the distance you're trying to snap, you can either do it from one end or just do the initial crack at one end and then come to
so there's got to be a limit there as to the width. I mean, when you start getting down to, say you're trying to take off 20mm from the edge of a tile, you're never going to do it with that, are you?
No. So I would say I did a nice I think my longest, narrowest cut was 1200 at 5 centimeters or 55 millimeters, and it did that with the separator there in one,
Did
because
it?
the two posts that you can see that make contact with the tile, they,
Yeah.
they slide in and out.
Oh, okay.
So they'll spread to about, I don't know, 10 centimeters maybe, but they'll come into about five and a half.
Got
Uh,
it.
and you can just about get both of them to land on a 5 centimeter rip or a 5 centimeter cross cut, and it snapped nicely.
So this is you working out your angles, two tiles to go in the tray. I like the single
Yeah,
full tray because you can just put two straight tiles in without doing all this.
they call I just from watching videos or whatever they were calling it an envelope cut, and
Yeah.
I hadn't bought a massive quantity of overs, if you like, so I was trying to get this tile in a oneer, and I was thinking no
Yeah.
pressure. I did the two sort of shortest diagonals, if you like, to the corners, and then once you've done that, you can do all the other cuts with the tile separator and the rail system. So it was. That wasn't so bad. So I was getting nice clean cuts then. So I just did the two little diagonals with a grinder. And
And I
then,
would just say that if anybody was thinking, okay, I would have used the single full tray, i.e., this being
yeah,
closer to the edge,
yeah,
you couldn't do that because of the plumbing arrangement you had, as you were right on the limit anyway, weren't you? Trying to get
yeah.
into that soil stack. You got yourself a laser.
Yeah, Bosch 90-degree floor laser or tiling laser, they call it.
Yeah.
And
Mitre cuts there.
yeah, we had a little go.
Tricky those. Not only have you taped all the joints, you siliconed the joints first, sealed them anyway with a polymer, then coated the whole wall, you taped it. That's like 3 layers of
Like,
waterproofing before you even start, isn't it? Before you
yeah,
put the tiles on.
sort of a waterproof board with waterproof joints, then waterproof, then latex, and it's your belt and
Brilliant.
braces.
Yeah, fantastic.
Uh,
These are your posh tile lifters, aren't they?
Well, they were a little bit counterintuitive. I've used sucker cups in the past for transferring tiles, if you like. On the box, it says it's capable of 110 kilos, but it still felt a little bit sketchy carrying a tile that was worth, I don't know, 40, 50 pound up the stairs using just two sucker cups. So when you're on your knees and you're trying to lift a tile that's that heavy into position, it gives you that
Yeah.
little element of precision. You haven't got to have your fingertips around the edges of the tiles.
That's the floor tile. You tiled the floor, then brought the tiles down over the top of it, which is always a good idea. I prefer that. Obviously, you haven't got to do all the side cuts then, have you? You haven't got to be precise about them. They're all hidden. And this is a cutout for underfloor heating controller,
Yeah, so it's a single gang.
thermostat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's that for your warm up, sort of half from the front and then half from the back, so you can get the radius of the grinder blade without overcutting the front of the tile, if you like.
As you're an electrician, you know about the zones, the safe zones. This is obviously mains voltage, so it's all
Yes.
right to put it anywhere, is it, or what?
Yeah, well, I'm RCD protected from or RCBO protected at my fuse board, so the whole circuit is protected, if you like. So
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that.
That's your trial fit before you stick the tile on.
Obviously, because the tray has got to fall into it, I just wanted to make sure that the bottom was going to sit nicely to the bottom of the brown tile is going to sit nicely against the grey, with the future silicone in mind or whatever, keeping the bead as tight as possible.
How long to the grab time do you reckon on that? Is it rapid set adhesive or?
Yes, yeah, it was to be honest. When I was doing this little bit of tiling, the weather was quite warm. The
So it's going off.
Yeah, the adhesive wasn't giving you very long at all. I think there was one point when I was doing the tray former where I lost probably a third of a bag of adhesive just while I
Did
was
you?
finessing
Really?
the
Yeah.
bead around the trap. Use the water quantity from the bag and follow the instructions. Give it a re-whisk after 2 or 3 minutes of standing, and you'll get a much better working time out of it.
So these are nice, aren't they? These have made a huge difference having these tile levelers or whatever you call them on the.
Yes, yeah. So this is a Ruby system. I can't remember what the Ruby Cyclone, I think they called it. But you
Yeah.
get the base, the white peg comes in 3 or 4 different colors to represent 3 or 4 different seam widths, if you like. So I think
yeah.
what was 1.5 mil. I can't
Is
remember.
it? Is that all you've got? 1.5 mil on those?
Yeah, yeah.
Blimey. Yeah.
And it's surprising how flexible a 4 foot porcelain tile is. You'd be surprised how much of a cut in the center of the tile you'll get, and then when you sort of wind those in, you just tease it back to the wall a little bit and give it I know 45 minutes to start setting up.
Yeah, it's incredible. I've seen tiles bend, these long plank tiles when they use those, and you think, blimey, it's going to
Yes, yeah,
snap, and it doesn't. It's like a bit of glass, isn't it? It just can flex.
yeah.
So you use the hole saw for this. Such a good hole, you'd never do that with
Oh no.
an angle grinder. And given the fact that's all going to be hidden behind the WC, that's a labour of love there, isn't it?
I think I'd have had the opportunity if I'd wanted to bring those two holes together, the flesh pipe and the soil
Yeah.
pipe. It would have still been covered by the pan when we got the 4 holes for the 2 support rods as well in the one tile. This is one of those little mental milestones.
We were making the videos for Abacus. They said you've got to do it like that. Don't do what some people do, which is just to get an angle grinder and cut a couple of triangles in it. You can get problems with the tiles cracking because you've got uneven pressure on the back of that WC. So the way you've done it, that's by the book. That's absolutely the best way, isn't it? Well, I've said it before. People probably know if they've watched our bathroom videos, but I just love this whole concealed. When I've done them and you've got to make the pipe work and then you got to box a bit of soil pipe in and all the rest of it. This is so much nicer. And people say, oh, well, you lose a bit on the bathroom, but the bit you're losing is not doing anything for you. So having those clean lines, I think it always makes a bathroom look bigger, easy to clean as well.
Well, that was the hardest tile. I called it the most complicated tile in the project.
I think you're mad, actually. I've got to say, if I'd done that,
Yeah.
what you then did was to bevel these to 45 degrees on both edges, rather than using a bit of tile trim along the side, and then you beveled this tile onto the top of it. That is brave. So how did you bevel those tiles?
So going back to the Ruby cut-in system, if you like, with the track saw, the electric version of the track saw has got a 45-degree running miter on it, if you like, so you can aim the saw at 45 degrees, and it'll give you a nice a relatively clean miter, and then you can polish up with a polishing pad and get yourself to the edge that you want. The saw doesn't take the whole body of the tile out, if you like. It doesn't take it to a really crisp, like Rizzler paper or corner. It leaves probably a millimeter and a half of meat on the tile. You can finesse that back a little bit. Yeah, so that's the window saw gone in there now, which is beveled to the long side, if you like, and then the reveals go in beveled to the short side.
He who dares wins, that's what they say, didn't it?
So this is one of those happy accidents. I think I had holes for the isolators, hot and cold coming through, and I solvent welded an elbow into the elements board, if you like, ready. When I put the tile on, the edge of the socket came absolutely flush to the face of the tile. I was like, oh well.
Do you know what? I've seen people put push fit stop ends on chrome pipe and then find that they blew off in the night.
I did that so I could drill a 32 into the tile, so I could offer them straight on without having to turn water and bits and bobs off. Afterwards, I cut them back and put 90-degree 15 to 3/8 for the hand screw tap.
Have you got an unvented cylinder in that house or combi?
Combi,
yeah. That's is it hand screw?
Yeah. Hand screw, yeah.
These shower heads, the prices of them, seen them for over £1,000 for
just the head. I know,
a rainfall head.
I think that from a non-plumber's point of view, you're second guessing yourself whether you've got your pipes in the wall at the right depth and whether you're going to be able to get onto the threads and whether you're going to have enough thread using the sort of the old Loctite 55.
Now this is a bit posh, isn't it?
Before the tiling was done, I plied that wall with 12mm ply. I cut the back to half height to 1200 high, and then I knew I was going to have a solid fixing for the vanity unit when it went in.
So you put ply there, and then you put the elements board over the top of the ply.
Yes.
And what about the trap?
I managed to get a standard 1.25" P trap in.
And what is this basin?
Precast sort of
resin. Yeah.
Bath store used to call them polymarble, didn't they? Resin, stone dust, whatever.
Yeah.
But the cabinet door that you can see there on the left, that was one of the early. I remember you saying in your Abacus about dry fitting and making sure that you've got your clearances and so on. I had to mock that up in the early part of the project to make sure that door was going to open without fouling the pan.
I'll tell you what we're going to do, with your permission, of course. We'll upload your photographs onto our website, and if people want to see the full story, because we've only just skipped through here, and we've been quite a long time talking about them, but there's a lot more for people to see, and I think anybody that's embarking on a bathroom, a shower room or whatever, there's stuff to learn here, even if you are having it done by professionals or whatever. This is instructive. It was instructive to me. I was looking at things thinking, oh, that's crafty. That's a great way of doing it. It looks fantastic. And Long, mate. Oh, blimey, look at this. Get naked. Yeah.
I
I
say,
think we have to stop the footage here before it gets a bit too racy. Even if you were a full-time plumber, I would say that was above and beyond. You could never make any money out of a job like that, though, could you?
no, it's one of those you can cut corners in
Yes.
the end.
People look at the price of a bathroom now and they think, my goodness, my first house cost less than that. But I think, it does eat up. Out of all the rooms in the house, a kitchen, the bathroom, they are the ones that swallow the budget,
Yes,
aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just at the outset, I think I can't remember what the figures were, but it's I think we're going to struggle to get this done for less than 10, and that's with me doing it. And it's
Yeah, that's
Funny thing that-
yeah. So we're looking at a shower room which is over 10,000 quid, and that's with free labour.
yeah.
And that's yeah, and that's the reality of it. So if you're going to get somebody to do it for you,
Yeah.
oh goodness, I don't know what.
I would say I booked a week off work at the start of the project to do the initial sort of rip out and first fix. So I had 9 days solid at it, and then if I totted up the hours afterwards, I reckon I was in for 22, 23 days in terms of hours, if you like, of 23 8-hour days or whatever from start to finish. So it's a month.
Yeah, well there you go. So if that's a month, then I think that, to be realistic, if any plumbers working for less than 250 quid a day,
You're at the thick end of 20, aren't you, by the time you
yeah.
do that? Yeah.
And then don't forget the VAT. Thank you very, very much for sharing it. I tried hard to fault it and I couldn't, so there you go.
Appreciate the content you put out on a regular basis, because it's not an easy job filling the channel, and
No, it's not.
it certainly helps Joe blogs and people wanting to take on their own projects.
People, if they think they're going to do this at weekends in their spare time, this will give you an idea of the kind of commitment. There will be people who are inspired by this, and there will be people who are just totally put off.